What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Dungeon coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be starting up a new series called the Builder's Guide, and in this series we're going to be talking about some of the early fundamentals of how to make a build. So when you start up a game of Dark Souls 2, you'll be in this area, the things betwixt, and you will proceed to this cabin, which really is like in a tree, in which case once you open up the front door, you will be hit with a cinematic and an option to create a character name and then to create your character. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like and give you some pointers on the beginnings of creating your build. Alright, you guys, so here we are at the screen. Once you pick a name and watch the cinematic, this will begin your character creation. There's a number of different options for character creation. The ones that we're really going to be focused on for a moment here is going to be your class in particular. And when you click the class selection, there's a whole plethora of different classes that you can actually choose from, ranging from warrior to cleric, sorcerer, and deprived, and everything in between. This doesn't necessarily give you a build, but it does give you a beginning to which to make your build upon. Something to note that's very important about your choices here, aside from your starting gear, are your minimum statistics. So if you pick cleric, your minimum faith you can ever have is 12, even if you use soul vessel, which we'll be talking about a little bit more down the line in one of the other videos and how to use those. But in general, when you use them, they bring your stats back down to what they are right here in these screens, and then you build upon it once again. So picking your class in this screen here, in this part of the very early of the game, does kind of make a little bit of a difference depending on where you want to go long term in the game. It's not like an end all be all, but you know, if you pick sorcerer for the beginning, then you should be good. It should be very fair to note that certain attributes might be wasted if you start as a sorcerer and then later you decide, you know what, I don't want to do the sorcerer thing, I want to be a warrior or whatever. Well, you know, some of those attribute points kind of going to be wasted because, like I said, your intelligence is going to have a minimum number, and that minimum I think is like 12. So that's just something to note. Alright, as far as anything else goes, as long as you stay within the realm of expertise given by that particular class, then you're good to go. One that I need to really mention, though, that if you're not at all sure what you're thinking about doing, pick deprived. Deprived, as you see right here, 6s all across the board and starting at first level. So if you ever use a soul vessel because you're like, well, you know what, I wanted to do the sorcerer thing, and then like, oh, you know what, I want to make a dex build, or I want to make a faith build or a strength build later, and you completely do 180 on your character, then that would really be one of the best classes to be. Now if you're playing this game right off from the get-go and you never played any games before and you want it to be a little bit easier, Knight's your boy. Alright, it's got a really good and very easy play style, good in strength, high vitality for like hit points and stuff, so you can kind of be a little spongy with the with hits that you take, and it's pretty easy. As far as everything else in between goes, it's a matter of preference, and like I said before, you can change it with some limitations moving forward. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing that I want to talk about. Alright, guys, so basically the next thing that you need to consider is when you start to level up with the Emerald Herald here in Majula, you kind of want to consider what it is that is your goal. And when creating your build, something that you do need to keep in mind are what is your main style of doing damage? All right, so this particular character, we'll go ahead and point to a couple things here. This particular character is an intelligence build, which means that this character right here particularly does most of the damage with spells. Not exclusively, but you know, most of the damage is coming from spells. So it kind of depends on your particular play style. There's the option to completely go glass cannon. So you know, if I'm focused on spells, then I want to raise my intelligence. I want to also, if it's, you know, sorcery spells, that is, I want to raise my intelligence, and I want to raise my attunement, which is this one right here, because this gives me more spells that I can cast, more different spells I can kind of memorize or attune, as it were, and more spells in which I attune that I can cast more often. So the higher this is, you can cast certain spells more often, and you can cast more variety of spells. All right. However, that also goes with saying that, you know, you would need a good amount of vigor in case you get hit. This is going to determine how fast you die, basically, or how slow you die. You want certain other general attributes to be raised, like endurance. How many spells can you cast before you kind of get tired and you can't actually do anything else? You have no more actions left before you have to kind of hold back and wait. How much equipment do you want to be able to hold on to before, you know, you start to become slow when your movement? That's what, you know, vitality is going to do. And then other stats that really aren't tied very heavily to your build in general, you know, maybe you don't need to raise those very much, like strength or faith. So in this particular character, I didn't raise my faith, I don't think, almost at all, actually. And my strength, this character, late in the game, I end up raising my strength because I wanted to use certain weapons that needed, like for instance this one, the Moonlight Greatsword, I needed at least 18 in strength in order to wield it. So that in particular, along with the Enchanted Sentier Spear, I needed this to be a 20 strength in order to wield that. And for those of you who are not sure where I'm getting that number from, that's right here. It says required attribute strength, and that's 20. The dex was a 22. So if I didn't want to wield those weapons, then I wouldn't have at all raised my attribute of strength at all, because it's kind of a numbers game, and it's a opportunity cost. You want to raise your intelligence? Well, that's at a sacrifice of other things that you could potentially raise. Something else that's, you know, mildly important that I'm probably going to be talking about in the next one has to deal with, you know, how much bang you get for your buck when you raise your statistics. So there is a sweet spot for just about every single stat that you see on the left. Those are the ones you can change, are your stats on the left. Other things that you see on this screen that are going to be really, really important for you are the performance stats in the middle, which give you an idea for how much extra attack, dex bonus, strength bonus, magic bonus damage that you're doing, as well as your defenses. Now, one very important one in particular that you see under performance that in the very early beginnings of this game was completely overlooked is the one that says AGL. That is agility. Alright, and this right here I have at 105. That's this one right here. So you can see, I'll move this out of the way. It says AGL 105. Again, that's this one, agility. That boosts evasion and other actions. That I have talked about before, and it is extremely important, that agility, because it determines a lot of things. But the most important things, like the speed in which you do things, the most important thing though that it does is it determines how many invincibility frames that you get when you roll. Like, so you can walk and then you can also roll, and when you roll you can actually get hit during the middle of your roll. But you get a certain number of invincibility frames determined by that statistic, that agility statistic. And it's mostly influenced by adaptability, which is that ADP all the way on the left, right over here. But it's also influenced by your attunement. So because this character has a 50 attunement, that already helps considerably. And then the adaptability is raised to 17 to give 105 agility, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we talk about in the next one having to do with stats, because there are certain thresholds. When you meet those thresholds, it's almost like if you put anything more into it, you get extremely diminishing returns. So you kind of have to weigh how much do you want to put into it to how much you're going to get out of it, okay? Last thing that you'll notice on this screen before we end this video is your, all the way on the right, you've got right weapon, left weapons, and then your, defense and poise and stuff. So most important ones that you're going to probably be concerned with early on is going to be your weapon damage. So it says right hand first weapon, second weapon, third weapon, left hand first, second, third, and it tells you how much damage it does. I will say this though, do keep in mind that even though some of these numbers look really, really impressive, and it might look really impressive to you on your screen when you're looking at it, a weapon like this one, the magic mace, it's plus 10, the damage is very misleading in some ways, because this is what you call split damage. So what that means is that the physical damage is 168 plus 27 for scaling, and then the magic damage 168 plus 51 for scaling. Alright, that means that when you attack someone, their physical defenses reduce that first set of numbers, and their magical defenses reduce the second set of numbers. So what that means is, in order to do damage to a creature or any opponent, you have to go through two sets of defenses that are going to reduce your overall damage output. Whereas on, for instance, the Moonlight Greatsword, there's only one type of damage, and it's magic damage. So because there's no physical damage, no other type of damage, the only defenses that they can actually use to reduce your damage output is magic defense. So having singular modes of weapon damage type can be extremely beneficial to your overall damage output. So keep that in mind when you take a look at this screen right here, where it says 414 damage for my second right hand weapon. That's actually not very good compared to the R3 right hand third weapon, because it's a singular type of weapon defense. Do keep in mind though that if like an enemy's magic defense is really, really high, then I probably don't want to use that weapon anyways. I probably want to use something that doesn't actually do any magic damage. And same would go for physical defenses. If it's really strong physical defense, then you might want to use something that's just magic defense. So these are things to think about, as well as for this class in particular. I've got all these spells. I've got Soul Arrow, Soul Shower, so on and so forth, right? Each one of those has a particular type of, let's go ahead and go to the spells here, has a particular requirement in order to cast them. Either they be faith or intelligence, or like both, for example, in which case like the intelligence is minimum is 10 here, but 0 there's nothing for faith for the requirement. Alright, and then you go to other spells. Some have potentially none, as you see with most of the pyromancias, and some have both, like you see for the hexes. Alright, and the miracles right here pretty well just going to have faith requirements. Okay, so something to keep in mind. And some are extremely high, like you see right here. Unleash Magic is 58 intelligence. It's extremely high, and due to like diminishing returns, you have to weigh late in the game for something like this. do you really want to have an intelligence that high to be able to cast this spell? If you do, well, then you need to have it that high, which means that you're not going to have as many attributes to distribute to other things. So that's pretty well where I want to stop with this introductory build guide for Dark Souls 2. For most of you guys, this is going to be stuff that you already know because you played Dark Souls or whatever. But for some of you, maybe you never played Dark Souls at all, and this could be extremely helpful information for you guys. And if so, leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything else that you have, any other questions, generic questions that you have. I'm going to be doing other build guide videos specific to different things, such as statistics, weapons, armor, and even some specific builds and what you would want to do for those type of builds. All right. So leave those comments down at the bottom, and that's pretty much all I have for the video today. I appreciate everyone checking out the channel and watching the video. So thank you, and have a good day. Bye, everyone.